And UAB's adolescent medicine doctor says studies show the vaccine can be beneficial for moms during pregnancy. As of now, there is no evidence that the vaccine has affected those who are expecting or trying to get pregnant. Some women have had minor side effects, but it's not been proven the side effects are because of the vaccine.
There have been many people within these trials who intentionally took it while they were pregnant because they were a frontline worker, or they became pregnant and didn't necessarily know it when they got the vaccine. None of those individuals have had any problems maintaining the pregnancy nor getting pregnant.
Studies have also shown that if a mother is vaccinated, the baby can also receive the antibodies to fight the virus.